Hi and welcome back to the channel. In today's video we're going to take the Vulcan B Mark II in 617 Squadron colours from RAF Valley down to the Mach Loop. In this video we'll be doing some navigation to get down to the area using TACAN. We'll be getting low and fast through the twists and turns of the Mach Loop before returning back to RAF Valley again using TACAN as navigation for recovery back into runway 31. So let's get inside the aircraft and let's get going. Parking brakes released, onto the toe brakes and power up. Release the brakes, listen for the howl, and we're rolling. – 120, 30, 40, rotate. Oh, it's a little bit windy. Okay, squeeze the toe brakes, gears coming up, and I'm looking for about 250 knots for the climb out. I've already got the TACAN dialed in, which is 21 X-ray for RAF Valley, and we're going to be heading out on the 150 radial from the TACAN. That's going to get us down in the direction of Barmouth, which is 36 nautical miles away. So I'm going to start turning to that heading. I've got it dialed in there. You can see the deviation bars off to the left there, so we'll need to bring this aircraft round to get that into the centre of the display. Weather forecast for today is a bit cloudy, but otherwise should be alright, should be fine. Well, we're almost round to 150, but we'll need to fly an intercept path to get out of the 150 radial. So we are 150 degrees there now. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to level out. I'm going to climb to about 3,000 feet. So what I can do is, I'm at 300 knots, come down to the autopilot. I'm going to engage the autopilot. That will put us on a pitch hold, and it'll keep our wings level. I'm on TACAN hold here. Right, I'm coming up to 3,000 feet, so what I'm going to do is I'm going to select altitude and engage. That will then hold us at 3,000 feet, or there or thereabouts, because it's a bit laggy, the autopilot on the Vulcan. So now that I've got that, I can come down to track hold, and because I've got TACAN hold selected on the display here, it's going to now turn the aircraft automatically to an intercept path. The TACAN display is showing 5 miles from Valley, and we are heading on a 36 nautical mile route to get down to Barmouth, which at 300 knots, which is 4 miles a minute, shouldn't take too long. So that's the chosen intercept path. That is, the aircraft has selected itself. And as you can see, the lateral deviation bar is coming back to the centre. So we're now on track for Barmouth. So around about 300 knots, 3,000 feet, 150 degrees, bang on track. using the TACAN, and the TACAN is reading 12 miles to Bournemouth. The weather will seem to be as the forecast suggested. Broken clouds. By the time we get into the area of the Mach Loop and the altitude that we're at the Mach Loop, clouds should not really be an issue today. Now, one thing to bear in mind when we get going through the Mach Loop, we are cruising down there at 300 knots. The Vulcan doesn't like turning very well at 300 knots, so we need to reduce the speed down to about 250 knots. At that speed it kind of handles a bit more like a fighter, but at 300 knots it handles more like a 747. Very sluggish in the roll, but we're doing fine for the moment to get us down to the area. Where are we now? 17 miles to Bournemouth, which I do believe is just up here. .23 nautical miles on the TACAN display. Now the cloud base up ahead seems to be possibly a little bit at our level or slightly beneath, but we're going to be dropping below that anyway. Now just as we're heading in towards the mouth of the river at Bournemouth, you've probably noticed, if you're not very familiar with the Avro Vulcan, it was designed as a high-level bomber, not as a low-level aircraft, and as such the view out the cockpit is fairly dreadful. So twisting and turning through the tight bends of the Mach Loop will be a challenge, but we'll give it our best shot. Right, as we're getting very close to the entrance now, which was 6 nautical miles away, I'm going to disengage the autopilot. First of all, come out of track hold, come out of altitude hold, and disengage. I'm now flying manually, and the first thing I'm going to do is descend. So we're not quite at the loop yet, but the entrance to the river at Bournemouth takes us up to the town of Aglesey. Incidentally, my pronunciations of Welsh towns and villages etc. will be atrocious, and I do apologise in advance to any Welsh people that I offend, but I'm trying my best. So it's going to bring us through to Aglesey, where there's a sharp right hand turn there, and that takes into the entrance to the Mach Loop. So as much as I am descending, I'm also slowing because I want to get down to sort of 250 knots to get that roll authority going. Coming down to 1,000 feet, we'll dodge that wind turbine on the left hand side, and we're heading up there. Let the fun and games commence. So as you can see, it likes to roll at this sort of speed. It also, as you pull in tight turns, the speed washes off quickly, so when you apply that power as we're pulling through. And as hoped for, the weather looks great. Now as this river narrows and winds its way further up there, that's where the town of Aglesey is. But the entrance to the Mach Loop is a bit higher than what we're presently at, which is 600 feet above sea level, so I need to climb a little bit. So I'm going to put a bit of power, actually I don't need to put a bit of power in it because I'm a bit fast, so I can use the climb to lose some speed. But it's up there, which I can't see because of the design of this cockpit. However, I do know where it is roughly, so I can fly through memory. There's the town there, and we're looking for the road that leads us in there, which is the A470, which I do believe is just down there. So follow the line of the road and we should be fine. Now I'm just going to cheat a little bit and jump in the right hand seat. Yeah, it's up there. I'm actually just following that road. See that road down there to the right hand side? That's going to take us directly into the loop. So as much as I can't see the entrance yet, I'm following that road. Okay, speed just a little bit over 250 knots, but however, here is the entrance to the Mach Loop. Here we are. So the first thing we're going to do is straighten up, and we're going to hug the right hand side because we've got a tight left hand turn coming up. 250 knots. And we need to preempt that turn for quite a large turning circle in a Vulcan. This is not a Typhoon. There's our turn there. So I'm going to begin the turn. Power in. Don't let that speed drop too much. That's not bad. Then the next challenge is some very slight short bends, but we can take the racing line down the center of them. Over the first one, the second one on the left, and then a sharp one to the right. And then the ridge coming up, we're going to treetop it. Wind turbines to the left is a reference point for the next turn coming up, which is, I believe it's called Chorus Turn, is it? But the town of McKinley is further down the hill, which is where we get the name Mach Loop from. But here is our turn. We're going to follow this river, if I can see it. 250 knots. Going to follow this river around this bend. And then we're going to allow ourselves to get low and fast. Let's hear the howl. Radalt is shown 300 feet off the ground and descending. Now I'm above 300 knots. This is going full deflection on the stick. See how it doesn't like to roll? I'm using a lot of rudder as well to try and get some sort of a turn in. I'm over 300 knots. Okay, there's still a fair distance to go before our next sharp turn, so I'm happy to keep this sort of speed up for the moment. Because our next event is, if you look up ahead, dead ahead on the nose, there is a smallish hill, this one here, with the dark trees on the left hand side. We're going to hug that left hand side, sorry, that right hand side of the valley for a sharp left hand turn. So I'm letting that speed peel away. We are almost out of the loop. So the dark patch of trees on the left, directly opposite the right hand side of the valley, that's the sharp turn in on the left. So I've got my speed back down to 250. 400 feet off the ground, we're turning in there. So we'll start that turn there now. Power in. You've really got to move about in your seat a lot to try and see past these pillars. Get a bit too much speed up there. Let's peel that off. Now there's one sharp turn left, and that's to the right hand side. Up ahead, we're following that road. See that road down there? That's our route out of the loop. And it's a bit of a climb to get out, so power goes in. Really pull that aircraft around. Get the power in, get the howl. And that is the end of the Mach Loop. As we leave the loop, you can see to the left hand side is the entrance that we went into before. So if we wanted to do another lap, it will be straight in there. But we're not. We're now going to recover back to RAF Valley. Now the weather up to the left looks a bit awful out towards Bomber, so we're going to dodge that, and we will head down the right hand side of that cloud. It's a good job we came down here when we did, because that weather's closing in. Hopefully it's not too bad when we get back to Valley. So for arrival back at Valley on runway 31, I'm going to adjust the TACAN, which I'll do in a second. What I'll do is I will engage the autopilot, Alt hold, and that will give us a little bit of time to talk about the TACAN. I need to get this swung back round to 3-1, which is our runway heading, which means that if we fly directly towards Valley at 310 degrees, we should be roughly lined up with the runway. So there's 3-1 there, but as you can see we're left of track. Let's check, we're going to clear these tops just up ahead. Should be fine. So I'm going to ask the autopilot to fly an intercept path by taking track hold. This weather is now looking pretty bad. Looks like that's the worst of the cloud out of the way, and actually looks quite clear up towards Valley, so we're fine. Otherwise I was considering sticking an extra 1,000 feet of altitude in just to make sure we get over these tops. At where are we now? 3,000 feet. Distance to go on the TACAN is 30 nautical miles, 29 nautical miles, just tick down. 300 knots, which is 4 miles a minute. So we're watching for this bar to center itself. And also making sure we get over these tops here. Yeah, it's starting to track in there now. And the aircraft's starting to turn ever so slightly, using the autopilot to intercept that track of 310 degrees, which is our runway heading at RAF Valley. 24 nautical miles out. Should clear those tops up ahead. 20 nautical miles to go. I think we'll get over the tops just up ahead here, and then we'll begin our descent into valley. Are we within 500 feet? Yeah, we cleared that by over 500 feet. "17 nautical miles, and you can see RAF Valley right there. So I'm going to come off autopilot, track hold off, disengage, and I'm flying manually. 16 miles to go. So basically I want a gentle descent and also to get off some of that speed. My approach speed is 138 with a threshold speed of 128, so for simplicity we'll call that 140 and 120, sorry, 140 and 130. "13 miles. Now the TACAN station, the TACAN beacon or transmitter, is to the left of the runway. So if I followed this directly into the TACAN beacon, it would have me down off the runway. So I'm just visually lining myself up. "9 miles out. "250 knots. And RAF Valley is still bathed in sunshine. "200 knots. 6 miles out. Gears travelling. So a reminder that I want an approach of 140 knots. So I'm going to use mid-speed brakes to get some of that speed off. "5 miles out. 170 knots. "160. Speed brakes coming back in. Just trimming the aircraft out for this lower speed. Okay, air brakes mid travel. 140, there's me 140. Bit more power to hold that 140. I need to be crossing the threshold at 130. Speed brakes full travel. There's me 130, idle, flare. Main gear's down. Let's hold the nose off for some aero braking. Hold that nose off. And lower it down gently. There we are. Well, if you're still watching, welcome to RAF Valley. Thanks very much for watching the video, and I'll see you again in the next video.